So he's got research, because you mentioned baboons, showing that in a sort of a hierarchical society of baboons, the lower ranked baboons will have higher cortisol levels, will have more stress hormones. While intuitively you might think the opposite. You might think that the higher the rank of the baboon, the more stressed he is, because he has to defend against all the other dangers and maintain his position and so on. So people took this exact study and applied it in an organizational context, where they looked at an organizational hierarchy and took cortisol levels of people in a big organization. I think it was the public health system in Britain. The higher the rank of the employee, the lower his or her cortisol level. And the argument so you might say, well, why would that be? Wouldn't the person who is higher ranked be more stressed? I mean, a CEO has to have more stress than the janitor. And one of the arguments, at least that they proposed, was the idea of freedom. The guy who's at the lowest rung of the hierarchy has to be told when he could go and relieve himself with his bodily functions, right? I mean, the amount of free destiny that he has in his daily life is very limited. Whereas at least the CEO, even though he's working very hard, he's more master of his daily life. So, for example, I work all the time. I can work 10, 12, 15, 18-hour days. But yet I feel like I'm always free, because there's nobody who's telling me what to do at any time. And apparently just that has a profound effect on your cortisol levels. And the origins of that whole study were originally due to Sapolsky's work with baboons, if I'm correct.
Well, that finding is mirrored in special ops guys versus enlisted men versus your average soldier. Like one of the big issues that people have today is PTSD, right? And one of the factors in PTSD is people who are waiting for things to happen versus people who are making things happen. Whereas SEALs, Rangers, people that they send in to go and kick ass and take names, those guys have way less stress, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Way less instances of PTSD. And, obviously, it's still tremendously stressful and still a lot of instances of PTSD, but less. And the more guys that I talk to that have served will tell you that the reason is that they're active, that they're proactive. They're the ones who are moving in and doing these things. And they're going after these bad guys and hunting them down, essentially. Whereas the other people are sitting around the base worrying they're going to get attacked, or, staying on their post, or driving in a car worrying they're going to hit an IED.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So let's propose another hypothesis, maybe somebody who's a graduate student might test. Coaches versus players. So based on your logic of the finding that you just said, the coach should probably have much higher cortisol levels, because right,
it's out of its control.
Right, and that's why you see them on the sidelines freaking out, going crazy, because you really can't affect much influence on the game.
Right.
I mean, you can at the margins in terms of the strategies and so on, but the guys that are in the battle. I mean, I was a competitive soccer player, and of course you're an athlete. I mean, a few minutes before you've got butterflies. Once you're in the thick of things, you're not stressed. I mean, you're focused. I mean, you're in the flow. But the coaches, they're the ones who are about to have a heart attack. So I think you can test that.
That is probably also a big factor why it's so difficult to beat a champion in combat sports, because the champion is the one who's in control, and the champion is the one who's been dominating. He has fear and intimidation on his side, and therefore he has less stress.
Right.
He's going to have stress no matter what if you're entering into a fight, but the person who's trying to overcome the psychological barrier that is the champion in front of them, like this is big... there's a persona that's attached. Like a good example is like Mike Tyson when he was in his prime. Right. Nobody wanted to believe that he could be beaten, and men would lose before they ever got into the ring. And
then Buster Douglas came.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.